Hello and welcome to another episode of My ArundelBiz Podcast, powered by Anne Arundel Economic Development Corporation. That is a mouthful every single time I say it. I'm your podcast host, Grayson Orfe.
And I'm Steve Adams, co-host and marketing and outreach manager at AAEDC. And I'm pleased to welcome today's guest, Hall Chaney from Chaney Enterprises, based in Gambrills, a company that definitely we've known for a long time, but caught our eye this year particularly because it's celebrating its 60th year in business. So congrats on that, Hall, and welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. Thank you, Grayson. Appreciate it. Happy to be here.
I guess to jump in, if you could just, give us a pretty brief history of how and where Chaney Enterprises started and how you guys have grown over the obviously 6 impressive decades in business.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, so the business was founded in Southern Maryland, down in Charles County in 1962, as you shared with the group, our 60th year anniversary. Very excited about that, and really started very humble beginnings. It was a sand and gravel business. My grandfather was a road contractor in Southern Maryland, and he took a contract to supply a material called bank run, which is a material that we mine out of Southern Maryland and different regions within Maryland, Virginia, and Delaware. And those materials, the only problem was he took the contract and didn't have any of it. So interestingly enough, he put together enough capital to be able to buy our original main operation, which is in Waldorf and still remains there today. And from there, we built the company into a downward supply business, supplying ready-mix concrete and aggregates throughout the mid-Atlantic. And so in 62, the company was quite small and obviously stayed quite small for the first probably 15 years or so. My grandfather unfortunately passed away in 69, so shortly after starting the business.
Wow.
He had 4 sons, 2 of those sons, my father being one, and then my uncle Dickie Chaney, purchased the business from the other brothers sometime in either the late 70s or early 80s. And at that point, the company had sort of still maintained its position in Southern Maryland. And when I say Southern Maryland, I kind of talk of the southern 3 counties, St. Mary's, Charles, and Culver. Yeah. And, that business was strong at that point with concrete plants and, again, aggregate facilities, which is a material mined and then used in concrete. My father graduated school, came back to the business in the early 80s, and along with his niece, Donna Bunn, really took a lot of time transforming the company, professionalizing it, kind of taking that normal steps of a family business from innovation to sort of becoming a little bit more structured and run with processes and procedures and so on and so forth. And my father maintained his position as CEO until 98, where we had an outside family member became CEO of the company, a gentleman named Bill Childs. And he, along with, again, my cousin Donna Bunn, who is vice chairman of the board, really were stewards of the company over that period of time. And I would say in terms of size and scale and where we are today, really the major growth has occurred between sort of 2008 coming out of the recession to today, 2022. And the company's gone from maybe 100 to 150 employees to about 750 employees today as of 2022. And we operate in Maryland, Virginia, Delaware, DC, and we move aggregates even across those borders to other states as well. And so today we have 11 sand and gravel operations, maybe 40 to 50 ready-mix concrete plants, and employ about 750 folks. So
wow.
Still family business, still family culture, still trying to communicate that on a daily basis. And that's that will and is still very significant to us. And we believe really at the ethos of why we've been able to be successful, trying to maintain that connection with each and every employee. But it does have its challenges as the company grows, for sure. So very proud to be celebrating 60 years. And Anne Arundel County is all of our owners' homes and my home, and now our headquarters. So we moved here in 2013, and frankly, really made the move primarily because it was more central to where our operations were at that time. We had kind of moved geographically throughout the region. And so Anne Arundel County is nice and central for Baltimore, DC, the Eastern Shore, even Virginia. It's kind of the middle of our world. So very happy to be here.
Yeah. So you touched on something, Hall, when you were talking about your family and it being a family-owned business. What were some of like the bumps and bruises of, it was a small family business, and then it growing over time, and then amassing the success that you guys have? What were some of those bumps and bruises? Because I know a lot of businesses just in growing pains. That's one thing, but if it's a family business, there's probably all sorts of other growing pains, growing pains that go with that. Could you kind of shed some light on that?
Sure. Yeah, no, I think, I often say being in a family business is the best thing and the worst thing all at the same time. If you can figure it out and you can have transparency within your family and a high level of honesty, then I think it can be one of the most rewarding and fun things in the world to be able to celebrate business with your family. But most family businesses fail in the third generation. I am the third generation, so I think I take a lot of pride in hopefully securing the fact that we aren't going to fail. And typically the reasons for that is you eclipse a little success or maybe a lot of success, and there's obviously typically wealth that can come with success, and over time you can get into a situation where either there are disagreements or a little bit of unalignment. And so I think a combination of things for us have helped. I think again, a high level of transparency, a humbleness of why we're here, which is really for our people and our teams, and to provide great opportunities within our community and provide hopefully a great service to our community in terms of the products we deliver. And then I also think lastly is, you can't be afraid to frankly involve a ton of outside family members. It really should be who are the best people to run your company. And as I alluded to earlier, we had an outside family member who was our CEO for many, many years. And frankly, most of the people making the major decisions at Chaney Enterprises do not have any significant connection in terms of blood to our family. And so I think that's a big deal, and you really have to build it and run it as if it's a real company with board meetings and processes and procedures and stakeholders, because at the end of the day, the family members, if they own the shares, then they're stakeholders, whether they're here working every day or they're at home. It's just like owning any other investment. And so I think that's been a big part of our success. But at the core of all that, I think, is honesty and transparency, both with your family and with your employees. And I think that at the end of the day, breeds a lot of understanding. Even if people disagree, we all know where everybody stands. And I think that's an important part of it.
So it sounds like the thing that keeps you working well with family and with business is basically your culture, like the culture that you guys have created, and that there's no blurred lines when it comes to it. It's just all along the line. You guys stand for that. And I think that's awesome. I think that's very key to business, not only family businesses, but just businesses in general. So I think you guys are a great example of that.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's tough. The bigger, and then not that we're a huge company, but we are dealing with our own growing pains as we continue to expand, not only with the number of people, but even the geography. I often say I used to know every employee's name and their spouse's name quite often, and typically knew their children. And at the number that we're at now, it's physically impossible. And so that culture becomes even more important, because you need to have that throughout your leadership, and that can be trying at times. And we're certainly aware of it and focused on it and trying to do better every day, because we're certainly not where we want to be. We're proud of where we are, but we certainly have a lot of work to do. And so I think that's the biggest challenge that you face as a company grows.
Yeah, and going right off of that, I'm obviously on social media all the time, following tons of businesses in the county, including Chaney, and I enjoy constantly seeing, all the appreciation you guys do of your employees. So if you could go a little more into, how you guys work to recruit, upskill, retain employees, which obviously if you've got somewhere around 750 now, that you must have a pretty huge HR department. But I know Wes, our director of real estate and business development, he was in the office a couple months back for the apprenticeship program that you guys launched with Maryland Department of Commerce. So if you could tell us a little about that.
Yeah, I mean, we're very proud of that particular achievement. It's very unique. Actually, we're the first private company in the state to be able to certify someone with a CDL license without that individual having to go anywhere else. And so through the state and through the Department of Commerce, we were able to achieve an apprenticeship certification that essentially allows someone to come to Chaney with no experience as a driver. We can pay them during their time in our classes as an apprentice as they go through the rigorous process of getting their CDL license. And then once they graduate, they're right here to roll into Chaney Enterprises. And so what it allows us to do, I mean, selfishly, is kind of control that cultural impact that we have through that process. And so they're getting to know us, our people, our trainers, sort of who we are, so that we're not just sitting there at the same pipeline as everyone else, trying to convince someone that we're the best of the best. And so I think that time in the apprenticeship program allows them to learn a little bit more about the company and hopefully find a little bit of a connection to the business that they're going to be employed with. And so that's been a huge success for us. We're very proud of it. We're trying to replicate it right now in Virginia.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Hoping to have it rolled out by sometime in the first quarter of 2023. But beyond that, I mean, I think it's a recognition again of just the fact that we get nothing done. Nobody gets anything done without the people that are a part of their team. But I think here specifically, we really try to remind ourselves that, those folks really want to feel a connection to the business that they show up to, punch in at, or work at each and every day. And that's not easy. Like I always say, you hear that saying, if you love your job, you're not working. And that's just not true. Let's be honest. We all
hey, we see it with NBA players on a week-to-week basis. So
I mean, every day feels like each day has an opportunity to feel like work at certain moments, right? So the intent is to try to break that down as much as possible, and so that there isn't this disconnection with the place that you work. And so again, going back to transparency, just like with the family, we share a lot of financials at this company with frontline employees. We give updates monthly on where our profits are and what capital we're spending. And those efforts are really driven by just trying to make sure folks have a real understanding of what's going on around here. What are they trying to accomplish every day? Why? And what does that mean for the success of the business? Because all that soft stuff's great, but we're here to make money. We're not ashamed of that. That's what the business is here. It's one of our core principles is results. But we want folks to not only understand that's what we're trying to do, but we want them to feel that they're connected to it. And then we have a very robust sort of sharing program built around that. And so I think a lot of folks can be afraid of sort of sharing that amount of data. I've often said you'd be surprised what an employee will make up if you don't provide them transparency. And so you're more endearing to them, and there's a deeper connection. And so that's our attempt. Again, we're not perfect at it, but we're trying. And on the training side, very proud of that. It's a tough labor market right now. Everybody knows it. We've been trying these sorts of things, though. My father and my cousin Donna, they started the first Chaney University, I think, in like 1992. So
wow,
that culture is very ingrained here. And so all I've done, along mostly with our HR leadership, frankly, is sort of continue to push that same culture forward.
So I think, and even leading into that, I mean, you guys that again is part of you guys' culture, which, you know, allowed you to last 60 years. You know what I mean? And that's no like, there's nothing to kind of like, you know, tip your head at. I mean, it's huge, right? So what over that time period, what were some of the most memorable or biggest projects that you guys undertook?
Yeah, it's a good question. You know, interestingly enough, like people ask me all the time, who do you sell concrete to? And I often say, which is one of the blessings of our industry, it can also be one of the challenges, but it's literally everybody. So, you know, if you think about it, anyone, Grayson, you mentioned when we got on the call earlier that you had a home project. I don't know what that home project is, but quite often we're selling directly to homeowners who might be, you know, putting in a new slab in the back of their house. And then the next week we're selling to Clark Construction or Miller and Long, or some of the biggest general contractors in the country. So it's a really eclectic group of customers that we serve, which is cool because every challenge and every phone call is different. But to get into specific projects that we've been associated with, you know, we're finishing up the Harry Nice Bridge, which is a pretty cool project.
I've been seeing that on social.
Yeah,
There've been some great videos over the last month or so.
Thanks. So yeah, if anybody drives down 301 South, the bridge that connects Maryland and Virginia, down at the bottom of Charles County,
Yeah,
very nice bridge. I think the new one is actually called the Mac Middleton Bridge, or maybe it's a combination of the names. But anyhow, we've been working on that for probably 12 months or so. It's gone quickly. It's an over $750 million project. Obviously, concrete's a small portion of that. For that particular project, we actually had to put a concrete plant on site because of the needs and specifications. And so it's amazing. People don't realize concrete, as I said earlier, can be as simple as, you know, you're delivering it to somebody's house and maybe there isn't 25 people out there inspecting a load of concrete that gets delivered to somebody's house. But if you go down to the Harry Nice Bridge and watch concrete being delivered, as you can imagine, it's pretty important that it's right. And so the amount of scrutiny and oversight and technical work that's associated with a project like that is pretty intense. So, and it's intense on our workforce because a lot of those cores are done at night. A lot of them are done 24 hours a day. And so it's been a great project. I think our team will be happy to kind of get it done and take a little breath. But we've done quite a few projects similar to that. Big projects, bridges, I would say, are usually pretty significant. We've done a lot of big warehouses over the last handful of years. As you all probably are aware, the Amazons of the world and even the other large distribution companies have been very aggressive in building new facilities throughout the last 3 or 4 years. And so we've been blessed to have a few of those big projects as well. One of the projects I remember that would connect to this podcast specific to Anne Arundel County is when I was working in the company during summers in high school and early on in college. I worked in our call center quite often, which is a great place to learn the business because you deal with the customers constantly. We were doing Park Place, which is the project down there.
Oh, okay.
Circle at West Street. I'll never forget. And that was a massive project for us. At that time, that was our biggest project we had ever done.
Yeah.
Wow.
65,000 yards of concrete, I think, went into Park Place. So you had all the underground parking garages and you had, we're doing the Annapolis City parking garage right now down there at Hillman.
Oh, okay.
Proud of.
We get updates on that every Monday from our City of Annapolis team. So
well, any delays have nothing to do with us. I just want to
knock on wood, it seems to be going pretty well so far. So
good. And you know, the city's been pretty busy lately. We're doing Grayson, you said you're over off near Riva Road. We're doing the apartments over there, and I think we've got the project over there across from the Annapolis Town Center, the new project that's going in over there. So yeah, but the great thing about our business is we'll do those kind of one-off projects, and they're great because they can be large and they can be fun. But again, our everyday customers, our everyday people that really build this business, they're contractors, they're independent, small, you know, family-owned sometimes or individually owned contracting companies, guys who are doing sidewalk work, guys and gals who are doing, you know, foundations for houses or additions to homes. I mean, that's our bread and butter, the people that have built our business. And we're proud to be sort of a little bit of every part of the economy when it comes to the products we deliver.
Yeah, I should use this opportunity for a very shameless plug for our new and expanding businesses list, which Hall, you might know about. We put it out every 2 months, and one of the favorite parts of my job is just when I'm out walking the streets or driving around, keeping my eye out for either new constructions or just new businesses that are opening up. And I've learned of a number of them from seeing a Chaney truck pouring a foundation and then looking it up or whatever and finding, oh, that's a new restaurant that's being built over by the mall or whatever. So it's cool to know that you guys are often probably the first to know about those things.
Yeah, we are. It's funny. My wife and family get very used to calling me or dropping text messages. And, as I've gotten a little bit farther removed from the direct sales side of it, I'm sort of embarrassed on occasion to not know. Well, we saw your trucks on a job. You don't know where your trucks are every day. I don't know where every single truck is every single day.
Right.
So it can be a little embarrassing, but it is fun to be a part of those visions on the early onset and to kind of see your communities, hopefully changing for the better for folks and building the environment that we all live in, which is such a cool part of it. I mean, I always tell people anything from your school to your hospital. I know folks sometimes say, well, your mixers are big and they're kind of bulky on the road. And I'm like, well, I get that. We try to pride ourselves on keeping them as clean as possible. And hopefully you have good experiences when you see our trucks on the road and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, you need those trucks because everything you use, literally everything. And it is by far the safest building product. So, you really want to, be cautious of those trucks when they're out there because they are big. I even tell my own family that, but they are all professional drivers and I can trust in the fact that they're looking out for you when they're on the road as well.
Hey, I love seeing them. I know a pretty good portion of them right now have some 60th anniversary celebration markings on them. So
yeah, the marketing team they're pretty creative. I appreciate them. That has nothing to do with me, I can promise.
Yeah.
Way smarter people than myself.
Well, going back to the 60 years, which has obviously been a theme of this, and as you were saying, kind of delivering concrete to all sorts of businesses and homeowners, big and small. I know philanthropy has been something that's been huge for you guys throughout your time. I didn't mention it earlier, but as a little quick aside, I personally know Hall because he graduated from Key School just 2 years ahead of me. And I know he's a proud Key parent now with kids that go there. But that's all to say, I know your guys' giving back really runs the gamut. So if you could shed a little light on some of the main causes you guys support.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I would really be remiss if I didn't at this point sort of say something about my dad. My dad is a dedicated philanthropist. I remember when I first started working at the company, I mentioned earlier, my predecessor was a non-family member. So at that point, my father had really already started to focus in that lane. And my predecessor used to tell me, Hall, you have to make enough money so that your father doesn't give it all away. It's sort of his joke. And I'm very proud in the fact that I was able to be raised in a household who really talked a lot about that every day at the dinner table. And, quite early in my life, it was sort of ingrained in my mind that, if you're going to participate and benefit from the community, which we do clearly, then you really need to find ways to deeply connect with the community. And so we've always had or I shouldn't say we've always had a foundation. We've had a foundation as long as I've been associated with the business. I would be speaking incorrectly if I told you the year it was established, but I think it was in the early 80s. It kind of started with our bull roast, which is a big event that we continue to hold. And originally our focus was around cancer research and sort of things that I think a lot of folks are connected to because it had really impacted our family. And then over the years, it started to sort of move more towards community things and needs. And early on, my father had a deep connection with the Boys and Girls Club. He was very involved with the Boys and Girls Club there in Annapolis that got built at Bates. And so we've had our tentacles into a bunch of different places. And I think the big change that we are sort of engaging in right now is sort of this idea where you wake up at night, and I tell this often. I would wake up and think to myself, well, I don't want to retire in 25, 30 years and say, look, gosh, we gave all this money. What did it do? And so we really started to try to laser in on where we could have a real impact. And because we had gotten to the point where we didn't really have I would say, a direction with our philanthropic work. It was more, we want to be involved in the community. We're open to sort of any organization that's supporting a litany of things. And so we rolled out a new foundation approach called Chaney Cares. And that's probably about 18 months old at this point. And it was really a combination of things. One was to really engage our employees, because one of the things I think philanthropy can do is it can really it can exponentially grow if you're able to sort of engage folks in a way where they understand what volunteering, money, it's not just money. Most people associate it with just money. Volunteer time, dedicating themselves to their communities can really have a significant impact. Plus, at the end of the day, the dollars that we're giving are being generated by our employees. Yeah. So if they don't have a seat at that table, if they don't feel connected to it, we didn't feel as passionate about it. And so that's been a big part of the focus moving forward. So now we have a committee within the company that allows for folks to sort of engage themselves in where we support. And we also offer volunteer time throughout the year. We have paid volunteer time off. We will even align ourselves with matching programs with our employees if they're involved with the nonprofits we're involved in. And then the second significant part of the rebrand was to really laser and focus with a few organizations that hopefully spanned, that's probably not the correct word, over our entire geography. And so we are aligned with the Boys and Girls Club, Read a Reader, I think it is, or Raise a Reader, sorry. Boys and Girls Club, Raise a Reader, and Habitat for Humanity.
Okay.
And the fourth, Farming for Hunger. So those are the four that we're very aligned with. And the tagline is Foundations for Family Success. So the idea is we pour foundations, right? Because we're in the concrete business. Yep. How do we build families that can sustain and that can break the poverty cycle? And so we focus a lot on those sorts of initiatives, because I guess in conclusion, my theory was, and the theory of sort of the team and everybody getting together on it was, it'd be great to give but if you can impact just 2 or 3 families where literally their families are shifted for the next 10 generations, the impact that has is as significant, if not more significant, than sort of just sprinkling all over the place. And so we're just in the sort of infancy of this, and we're trying to really expand it over time and hopefully bring in additional partners with this hope of really changing people's lives in a significant way, I guess would be.
That's awesome. Because like you said, I volunteered for Habitat for all of high school with my father, and kind of knowing the trickle down effect that owning your own home can have. It obviously impacts your whole adult life if you're the homeowner, but then the trickle down effect of impact to your kids. And I think, as you were saying, kind of because you have such an enormous geographic footprint, it makes a lot of sense for you guys to kind of get strategic about, you obviously would be getting probably daily requests to sponsor this event or sponsor this group or whatever. So it's a lot easier for someone like AAEDC when most of our sponsorships are limited to in the county, but when you're talking about many states that you guys are having an impact in, but what a little follow-up there, not to take up too much time, but with the foundation in mind, both your foundation and the pouring foundations, are you guys sometimes able to actually, I would imagine, do direct philanthropy in terms of, contributing concrete and pouring concrete?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of the work we do with Habitat is
Right.
donating concrete. And not only donating the concrete, but also, I think it might have been last week. We had a volunteer opportunity where our employees were actually physically out there helping pour the concrete and put it into place.
Okay. I think I saw that. So that's where the little
yeah, we try to get one every 6 weeks or so, where there's an opportunity for employees to sign up and participate and be able to volunteer in some way, shape, or fashion with these different organizations.
That's
we're
awesome.
Working on a massive project right now with the Boys and Girls Club that I don't want to steal any of their thunder around, but it's a really exciting project to the county as well. And so, I think that is a big part of it, right? The connection between the materials that we deliver and the home ownership you talked about earlier. I mean, when you can provide home ownership, it's real equity, right? It's not just a gift. It's a gift that can be built upon for generations into the future. And so that to me is the core of our mission. We're just not there yet, because we've just got to kind of started with these relationships. But long term, we really want to bring in other stakeholders and figure out ways to sustainably change the direction of these families who unfortunately can live generation to generation in the same economic situation, right? On subsidized housing. How do we change that for their future generations? How do we give them that platform that's sustainable? And so our work around families, equity, and the rest is a big focus. And there's a ton of organizations, by the way, not to slight any of the hundreds of organizations within our county and within the states that are already doing this sort of work. I think, big picture, where we see ourselves fitting into that small little thing is, how can we connect those any organizations? Because so many people are doing such great work, but I feel like because there's so much great work being done out there, there should be a bigger impact. And I don't know how to really articulate that better. It's frustrating because I feel like there are a lot of great folks doing a lot of good philanthropic work. And how do we bring those resources to be more efficient and render greater results? So,
Right. If you could remind everybody just how to follow you guys online and on social media to stay in the know on all things Chaney.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. Everything's right around Chaney Enterprises. If you Google Chaney Enterprises or www.ChaneyEnterprises.com, obviously all of our job postings are there on our website underneath careers. And then if you follow Chaney Enterprises on any of your social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, we're LinkedIn, we're in and around all of them. And so our team does a pretty good job of keeping it all connected, and sort of the output is pretty consistent. But we do have a ton of opportunities. So please, if you're interested and want to join a winning team full of passion, check us out at ChaneyEnterprises.com. We'd greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'll keep doing my part on spreading the word as well, obviously, because we're all about more jobs and job creation in Anne Arundel County, and obviously also beyond. So to remind everybody there, we're on all the same platforms that Hall just mentioned, aside from TikTok. That's not yet part of our territory, but that's Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, at AAEDC, or it's ArundelBiz for our Instagram channel. And also to remind everybody that you can watch this podcast and all of our past podcasts and our future podcasts on Facebook and YouTube. And then you can also listen to them anywhere and everywhere that you can listen to pods. So I didn't say it at the very beginning, but hopefully this will be airing sometime right around Construction Appreciation Week, which is in October. And obviously it will be airing during the continuing celebration of Chaney Enterprises' 60th year. So happy Construction Week and happy 60th to Chaney. We look forward to seeing tons of your trucks on the local roads and job sites for many decades to come.
Greatly appreciate it, guys. Thank you very, very much. We appreciate you allowing us to be here, and thank you for what you guys are doing in the community. We really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Bye.